Hi, I'm here today with Gabe Middleton. Gabe is the co-founder and CEO of Human IT. Gabe, welcome to My Company Story.
Thank you so much for having me, Don.
Sure. Gabe, first off, let's talk about what Human IT is. What do you guys do? Tell me about the business.
Sure. Yeah. Human IT is a nonprofit social enterprise, and we're here to put simply, we're here to create opportunities for people who are left on the wrong side of the digital divide. And basically, the digital divide are those who have access to broadband connection and computer in their home, and those who do not. And unfortunately, here in the United States alone, there are still 80 million Americans who don't have access to one of those two things in their home. In today's digital age, that's a real problem. They're not able to connect to some of the basics, like telemedicine, or if you need to apply to school or a job. That's all done online now. That's where opportunity is. If you think about it, no one really has encyclopedias anymore. That's where all the knowledge is on the internet now. So if you don't have access to a computer or internet connection in your home, you're really put at a large disadvantage. So Human IT is really here to shrink that digital divide. And we do that by creating social enterprises. And one of the social enterprises that we create is an ITAD business, which stands for Information Technology Asset Disposition. It's a fancy way to say we'll deal with your unwanted technology. We've also created a broadband and digital literacy business, as well as a grants and foundational giving department.
So let me understand this correctly then. You guys saw a need out there that there are 80 million people that don't have internet access. And you said, we're going to do what we can to get internet access to those folks. And then you went about and, correct me if I'm wrong, but you approached companies or individuals or people who have leftover and used IT, computers and whatnot, and you said, don't throw them away, give those to me. You'll refurbish them, you'll clean them out, and then you'll give them to those people that need them. Do I have that correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, the first thing that we did when we started Human IT in 2012 was we wanted to address the hardware gap. Basically, we wanted to make sure that people have access to either a good working computer in their home, whether that be a desktop, laptop, or tablet. And so what we did to solve for that issue is we created that ITAD service that I just mentioned. And what that means is that we reached out to businesses, Fortune 500 companies, to small, medium-sized enterprises, and we said, we'll deal with your unwanted technology or electronic waste better than you're currently handling it right now. And what was happening with most businesses is that they were using a downstream recycler. And when you recycle your electronics, oftentimes what happens is that the recyclers just grind up the electronics for the precious commodities inside, which obviously would render that piece of technology useless. I always like to kind of give the analogy of it's kind of like a car, right? If one thing goes wrong with your car, you don't just scrap the entire car. It's a modular process. You could just replace certain parts. Same thing with technology. And so a co-founder and I would just realize that, we weren't really utilizing e-waste as best as possible as a country. And really the businesses were just kind of wasting these assets, because obviously there's still a lot of folks who are being left on that wrong side of the digital divide. So we said, hey, work with Human IT. We will pick up your technology for free. We'll give you free data security that is Department of Defense grade security. As it also meets the HIPAA standards. And then instead of recycling that technology, we will repurpose the technology, keeping it out of landfills. And then we will donate any reusable consumer grade tech to low-income families, veterans in need, and other nonprofits in order to shrink that digital divide.
So you really solved two business problems. One, you solved the business problem for the Fortune 500 company or the mid-sized company that has these computers that they're not using anymore that are obsolete. And you're saying, don't recycle those, give them to me, we'll repurpose those. So they're like, great. And so they give them to you. You clean that data out of there, so you make sure they're secure before you pass it on to someone who needs it. And then you have, what's the third portion of the business then that you were telling me about that you do internet access to those folks?
Yeah, and that happened a few years later as far as our broadband business. In the early days, we were just donating computers by themselves. But as necessary as a computer is to have in your home, it's not sufficient. You need access to the internet to go along with that computer. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide that service as well to pair with the computers that we were redistributing to our recipients. And so what we did is we created partnerships with basically every single internet service provider or ISP in the country. And we were letting them know, we let them know what we were trying to do as far as shrink the digital divide. And they've been very open to partnering with us. And they said, okay, well, we can offer them, your recipients, a special low cost internet options where they could get high speed internet, nothing dial up, because that's obviously obsolete these days, but actual true broadband connection for at a low cost. So anywhere from $8 to $20 a month for
Wow.
a high speed internet connection to pair with the computers that we were donating out.
So you're donating a computer. So someone gets a computer for free. They pay $8 to $20 a month, and they have internet access and they have a computer. So these guys are online now all of a sudden. How do you select who gets that computer and gets that service? That would be wonderful. How do you guys pick people?
So in the early days, we actually handled all of the applications ourselves, where people would actually apply to receive a free computer through our website or call in via 1-800 number. But very quickly, we felt like we were reinventing the wheel with that process a bit, and that was just too much for us to handle. And so we decided to cancel that approach, and we created partnerships with CBOs, which stands for community-based organizations and other nonprofits, as well as local government and municipalities. And we said, hey, there's already so many great services out there when it comes to nonprofit work, whether it's helping the homeless or helping single mothers, or just veterans in need. There's already so many great programs. So we said, hey, community-based organization X, we have 100 laptops that we're willing to donate to your organization and to your recipients. Just let us know how you feel like your recipients can benefit by having these digital tools. And that's obviously an easy explanation for them to answer.
Right.
So we just said, okay, well, you handle all the marketing, you handle the vetting of the recipients. We will show up to a particular site, and we'll handle the distribution of the computers, the sign up of the internet, and the technical support once they do get home with their computers. Oftentimes, this is their very first machine, and so they need help setting it up. Maybe something goes wrong. I mean, we've all been there, right? When it comes to technical issues, to where we actually have an IT department to where they provide technical support for free, unlimited for 1 year.
Wow, that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
a nonprofit in, say, Detroit, Michigan, they contact you or you contact them. They say, great, we need 200 laptops. So you'll send a truck out to Detroit, and you'll meet them there. They'll distribute it. They'll decide who they go to. And then that person who gets it, they'll call your IT people. You'll help them through it. They will sign up, and they'll pay. Will they pay you, or they'll pay the local AT&T, or how does that business part of it work?
Yeah, great question. So actually, we handle the distribution angle and component of the process. So the CBO just identifies and markets to the recipients, and then we'll actually interface with the recipients ourselves, just so we could get them in our database, so we know who has received what technology, what they wanted to use it for, and then we follow up with them 6 months down the line to make sure that this computer actually is benefiting them, and that it's still useful to them.
Great.
So we handle that follow up. But to go back to your question, it really depends. So once we interface with the recipient, we then will be text messaging them, because oftentimes some of these individuals have 2 jobs. They don't really have a lot of time in the middle of the day to take a phone call to figure out which internet is best for them.
Right.
So we'll text them throughout the day, and we'll give them their options and say, here's what your area provides, because not everyone's zip code has the same ISPs that are available to them with the same speeds and deals and whatnot. But so we say, okay, where do you live? Here are all of your options. What is your situation? Do you have kids? Do you like to stream video? If you do, then you're going to need this speed. Or if you're just a single individual, maybe a student, maybe you don't need as high of a speed, and a mobile hotspot is better for you. And so we just pair them whatever works best for their situation. Once we identify that, a few different things can happen. Either we work directly with the ISP to then hand off our recipient to them. So because oftentimes that ISP will need to go to their house and install a modem just like, most of us have had that experience with our internet. But we have what we call our mobile citizen program, to where we actually handle all of that sign up process and the billing in-house, to
Wow.
where we will sell them a mobile hotspot where they can connect to 10 devices, so they could be on the go, because a lot of our families don't have stable housing either. So it doesn't make any sense for them to have a modem installed into their residence, because they may not be there in a few months.
Right. They could
So
be transit and
yeah,
moving around. Yep. Hmm.
absolutely. So maybe the mobile hotspot or mobile citizen program is a better option for them. And so where that's a $15 a month broadband, high speed, unlimited LTE connection using the Sprint network.
Yeah.
If they pick that option, they deal with us through the whole process, signing up and paying their bill.
So Gabe, tell us about, I mean, it sounds like on the one hand, you're a nonprofit or started off as a nonprofit, but now you're also charging, now you're making money too. And you sell what you collect from Fortune 500 companies and can't give it away. You sell that merchandise and get money. So you have revenue coming in, and yet you have grant money coming in also. Or tell us about and you have a lot of staff. You have how many employees are working for you right now?
Yeah, so we have about 70 employees, full-time employees working for us right now, which is, when I say that out loud, is just shocking to me sometimes.
That's
How
great.
big we've gotten.
Congratulations. And you've been in business
Like,
how many years now?
just over 7 years.
That's great. Great growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we started with less than $1,000 from the co-founder and I's bank account. We bootstrapped this whole thing. So to look back on the growth has really been humbling and really amazing, to be honest with you. But we, in order to do the social good and shrink the digital divide that we set out to do, that all takes money.
Mm-hmm.
That we can't do that for free. We need to keep the lights on. We need to pay our staff. Yeah, we work for a nonprofit, but our lives aren't nonprofits.
Right.
We still need to pay our bills, and it takes a lot of resources to shrink the digital divide. And 8 years ago, just about 7.5 years ago, when we started, this is my very first attempt at a business. I'm not a serial entrepreneur. Wasn't a kid who had a lemonade stand. Never thought I would be an entrepreneur or kind of run my own business growing up. And so when we started, I knew with my bio and my resume, I wasn't going to have a lot of foundations or individuals lining up to give me a check to start this business just because it's a good idea. And I didn't really want to be beholden to, who was in office or how much money a certain foundation has to go towards this cause. So I thought it was really important to basically take a more of a social enterprise approach to this, to where we could generate our own revenue, and then make sure that we could fund ourselves without being reliant on again who's in office or how much money is out there to give towards this
you've been
cause.
successful at that goal right now then.
Yeah. We've been pretty successful at that, specifically with our ITAD business. We have hundreds of businesses who use our ITAD services, to get rid of their e-waste, because it really is a bit better business value proposition.
Yeah.
It's better than throwing it away in the landfills, which sadly is what happens to the majority of tech these days.
Yeah.
And it's better than recycling it and grinding it up for the commodities. So it's really easy for our ITAD businesses. We make it easy for them to be sustainable, which, as we all know, in today's age, that's becoming more and more important to
That's
show
right.
customers and to the public how responsible you are and how sustainable your approach is. And we make that really easy for our ITAD clients. So they obviously like that.
Yep.
And that obviously brings in a lot of tech. We take in technology from all 50 states in this country. So
that's great.
That business is really growing. And we don't just handle their computers, tablets, and cell phones. We handle all of their equipment.
Mm-hmm.
If we really want to replace the recycler and provide them the best possible service, we need to make sure that we handle all their enterprise grade tech, all their office equipment.
That's good.
And what we do with that is we sell that technology using our online store, and that generates majority of our revenue.
Okay.
To be able to go towards our programs.
That's great, Gabe. That's fantastic. So Gabe, let me ask a little bit now you mentioned just a few minutes ago that you didn't have any experience in business. You got into this thing, all of a sudden you find yourself employing 75 people and doing work in every state in the country. Remarkable story, by the way, but you must have hit some real challenges along the way and how you've overcome them. And I've got to tell our audience right now, we're talking on Monday, March 16th, 2020. And just on Friday, I think it was Friday, that President Trump came out and declared national emergency because of coronavirus. Governor Newsom decided to, shut down many restaurants and places, and we're all working from home. You're working from home. I'm working at home right now. I mean, and you mentioned you were interviewed on ABC News on Saturday for what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about, why did they interview you guys? What is it about today's environment that has opportunities for your company?
Yeah, what a unique time, to be running a business, right, with COVID-19, and also known as the coronavirus, kind of spreading out, and all the unknowns surrounding our situation right now, to where really all of our office staff is working remotely now. And I was telling you earlier, Don, that this morning I had to say a little prayer to
Yes.
make sure that I have the strength, and I'm the health, and the wisdom to really kind of lead this company around this health crisis. It's a bit scary out there right now, and as you mentioned, a lot of the businesses are closed. All of the schools are closed, and all the kids have been sent home. But as I mentioned earlier about the digital divide, speaking more specifically to students, 1 out of 4 students in California don't have access to a computer or a broadband connection in their home. And they're supposed to be studying and working remotely. So
And
not sure how they're going to do that.
You're right. And
Yeah.
libraries are closed now also. So
Yeah.
here you guys come in with an answer for
Yeah.
that you can
Mhm.
provide them with those, with the tools they need so they can study at home.
Absolutely. So we have school districts, almost every single school district in the state, which there are quite a lot in California, are reaching out to us and saying, "How can you help us? Can we purchase 50,000 laptops from you and 5,000 mobile citizen hotspots from you?" And obviously, we don't have that much supply, but we're doing our best to accommodate all the students who now have to work from home, and even the folks who need to work remotely. Not every single business has the IT infrastructure to lease out laptops, or hand out laptops to work from home. So they're scrambling to try to get a device as well. And as well as, really, if you take a look at who's really the most vulnerable population, even beyond students and employees, when it comes to the coronavirus, it's the elderly who are most susceptible right now. And a lot of the elderly population don't have access to a working computer or an internet connection in their home either. And so ABC7 reached out to us a couple days ago, to where they interviewed us and asked us, what we're doing to try to help get folks get connected, and how folks can how can they outreach to us and get connected with us to either get a laptop in their home or an internet connection. So we're doing our best to really kind of disseminate the information about how to get connected, the best way to communicate with human IT, and why it's important, to understand the all the aspects of what the digital divide, um, you know how it affects, how it's affecting everybody, really, students, employees, and elderly alike.
Yeah, I mean, just the story that you're telling us today on this podcast, I mean, illustrates very clearly how much there is a digital divide out there and what you're doing to do that. But it seems like with this COVID-19 virus going on, with so many workplaces being and schools being shut down, you're presented an opportunity to really be able to run with something if you had enough supply. There's a great demand out there for people that need these services that you've been providing for years.
I mean, there really hasn't been a better spotlight. It's really unfortunate what's going on, but it's really put a spotlight on the digital divide and how big of an issue this really is. In so many ways, in my opinion, we weren't really ready for a pandemic like this, and this is just another element to really, our lack of preparedness around, really quarantining ourselves at home, and really what's that going to do for our education, and for our economy, if we're not able to communicate live and effectively using the internet and a computer.
That's right. Absolutely. And it'll be interesting, Gabe, to see when this airs in a couple of weeks from now, what the world is like at that time. Hopefully your prayers have been answered and we'll be in great shape, but you never know right now. We just don't know sitting here today, do we?
Yeah, we just really don't know. It's really scary, and we just got to make sure we stick together as a community.
Absolutely. Good. Well, Gabe, before we wrap up, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way to get a hold of me is LinkedIn. So if you just search Gabe Middleton on LinkedIn, you can see Human IT is attached to my profile as well. Shoot me a message if you have any questions about how we're shrinking the digital divide. How Human IT really scaled up to the company it is today. I would be more than willing to communicate and respond via LinkedIn.
Great, Gabe. Well, you've been a great guest on the show, and we wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to following your success.
Thank you, Don.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening to My Company Story. We have new episodes coming out every week, so please subscribe if you like this. And if you'd like to hear previous episodes, you can go to mycompanystory.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, if you or someone you know would be interested in coming on the show, please email me at don@burge.com. Thanks for listening.